Y'all, grab your tea because this one is wild. Last year, Elizabeth Ovesen, yep, the woman we all knew as Karrine Superhead Steffans, finally broke her silence on the jaw-dropping allegations against Sean Diddy Combs. Now, if you missed it, Diddy was arrested last September on some serious charges: human trafficking, racketeering, kidnapping, and even arson. He sat in jail for 8 months waiting for his big day in court. But get this, when the trial finally started in May, the Manhattan jury shocked everyone by acquitting Diddy of those heavy RICO charges. Instead, he only got hit with 2 misdemeanors for transporting his own girlfriends for prostitution. Whew, but the real tea? Ovesen spilled all about the night she first met Diddy. She claims she was kind of ordered to his house, but says he actually treated her with respect. Picture this. They're at the club, cars are leaving at the same time, and Diddy leans out the window talking about her like she's property. And get this. She says Irv Gotti, yes, the Murder Inc. boss, gifted her to Diddy that night in LA. Ovesen describes Diddy as pleasant and a gentleman and insists she never saw him do anything criminal. But here's where it gets messy. She now says she can't even remember if she slept with Diddy that night. When Piers Morgan asked her point blank if they ever hooked up, she hesitated and said, "No, not to my knowledge." Sis even admitted she might have been too drunk or high to remember what really happened. She told Piers, "Honestly, I'm questioning a lot of things right now, and apparently Diddy was terrified she'd put something about him in her next book." But Ovesen says, "Whatever he thought I was gonna say, I didn't. Maybe because I just don't remember it." Woo! The drama never ends in these YouTube streets. Stay tuned because you know there's always more to this story.
First, I'm joined by Elizabeth Ovesen, known to many by her pseudonym of Karrine Steffans, author of Video Vixens, who claims she was gifted to Diddy in 2001 by a music executive. Well, welcome to Uncensored, Elizabeth. Thank you very much indeed for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
A lot of people are kind of aware of your history with Diddy, but for those who know nothing about it, how would you categorize your time with him?
My time with Sean was honestly pleasant in the beginning. To my recollection, the first time we met, we spent the night together, but he was a consummate gentleman with me in that evening, again, to my recollection. And every other time I saw him after that was in a group setting, so it was fine. The last time I saw him, however, things had taken a bit of a turn. It was after Confessions of a Video Vixen, my first book, had been published. And he was seething when he saw me Prince had a party at his house, and we were there, of course, before Prince died. And he was scowling at me the whole night, and I found it amusing, but he was obviously very angry with me by that point in our relationship.
Why was he so angry with you?
Well, 4 months before Confessions was published in 2005, we got a call from Sean's attorney, my attorney did, and Sean's attorney wanted to see the book before the book came out. Confessions of a Video Vixen was an embargoed book, so no one could see it. No one would even get it until the publication date, which is June 5th of that year. And so my attorney told his attorney that he could not get the book and that they would have to wait until the book came out like everyone else. And if they saw a problem in the book, that they were free to reach back out to us, sue us, whatever they felt was necessary. We knew that wouldn't happen because HarperCollins is the publisher of that book, as you know, is a News Corp entity, and those attorneys made sure it was vetted to the fullest so Sean could never sue, he could never raise any objection to it. And I think he always hated me after that because I left enough. I posed questions in that book that that I think sent certain people down the direction that leads us to where we are now.
Just explain that a little more. What were the questions you think that you're talking about?
Well, honestly, I'm just now getting context on a lot of the questions that I had then. After the trial. The trial gave me way more context. But just about, I think, his sexual proclivities, in what we saw in hanging out with him, the kind of clubs he took us to, even conversations he and I had, one in particular where I didn't understand it at the time. And honestly, Piers, I'm getting new understanding about this line of questioning. I wrote about this in Confessions, where my boyfriend and I at the time had gone to his home for New Year's Eve, Christmas, New Year's Eve kind of festivities. And he pulled me to the side and was just like, we're friends, right? We're friends. And I was like, yeah, we're friends. And like, we're good. And I'm like, yeah, we're good. And I couldn't figure out what he meant. And I wrote about this where I didn't know what he was talking about. And he just kind of went on to say, I have kids, I have a mom, and if anything got out, it would really hurt them. And I honestly, at that point in stage, did not know or remember what he was talking about. And so we just kind of laughed it off, like, what's going on with him, and things that he said to my boyfriend, like, don't trust her, she might have her on video with, in precarious positions. And this is back before cell phone cameras. So I was just like, what video? I didn't understand any of it. Now after the trial and the things that have come out from the trial, this gives these conversations a lot more context. But at the time when Confessions came out, it did make us all wonder, what was he so afraid of? I didn't even know what I had seen or didn't see, or if there's something happened that I didn't remember from our time together. But he was very afraid that I would say something in the book. And honestly, I think he never contacted us back because what he thought I was going to say, I did not say. Possibly because I didn't remember it.
What do you think he was fearful of you saying?
I have to be honest, Piers, in booking this time with you today, and your producer asked me to kind of send over some pages from the book, I hadn't read Confessions since I wrote it, and I read it for the audio version, and that was 2005. It's been 20 years since I've read this book. And in reading what I sent over, which is what I just described to you right now, I wonder a lot of things. He was so afraid that I knew something. And I was confused because the only time that we had together prior to this conversation was alone time at his home, wherein I felt we had a good time. I didn't know, he didn't come on to me. It was very platonic, I thought. So I was confused as to what was it? And so I have to admit, my mind kind of races now that I have more context of his proclivities and what he's capable of what he was so afraid of, what he thought I knew or what he thought I remembered.
I mean, in the book, you talk about the first time you met Diddy in a nightclub at 3 a.m. You said, right there in front of me, Diddy and Gotti, who was the Murder Inc. Records boss, Irv Gotti, made arrangements to send me to Diddy's house in 1 hour. It was 4 a.m. I turned up to Diddy's home in my SUV. There were security guards in the driveway, all dressed in dark suits with their hands in front of them. They had been expecting me. The things that went on when Gotti and I were together are almost unimaginable to me now, but in the haze of drugs and liquor, it all seemed all right. I was being used over and over again, man after man, all friends and acquaintances of Gotti's. I quickly became Gotti's showpiece. He would turn other people in the industry onto me. I was his party favour. Whenever there was anyone Gotti wanted to impress, he would send them to me and I'd take care of them. I mean, could it be that what Sean Combs was worried about was that he facilitated this very transactional relationship that you had with Irv Gotti? Is that part of this? I
don't think that was it. And honestly, I think it was more insidious than that. The fear, the fright that he had that during that conversation at his Miami home, back in whatever year that was, he seemed terrified that I had known something. And I just don't know what he thought I knew or remembered. The transactional nature of how we met, and which is why, I said in various interviews before that I was gifted to him, it was because no one asked me if I wanted to go. No one asked me. They talked about me as if I wasn't there. I was property to cart around. And that's what they did. If they would have asked me, I still would have gone. So I didn't hold any objection at the time because I would have still done it. Being 21 and it's Diddy and we're having fun and it's just a Saturday night out in LA.
Now, everybody knows how much I enjoy my tea, and I'm very happy to say that today's show is sponsored by Peak's Pure Fermented Teas. These are not your average brews. They're sourced from 250-year-old wild trees in the Himalayan foothills, which are untouched by modern farming. No pesticides, no fertilizers, just nature at its best. Pure delivers a full spectrum of prebiotics, probiotics, and postbiotics, just like the fermented foods found in longevity hotspots. It comes in crystal form, so there's no messing around. Just dissolve, sip, and feel the difference. It's trusted by health experts, including Casey Means and Dr. Mark Hyman. There's teas for all occasions, and they all support your gut health, metabolism, and cellular renewal. The next time you put the kettle on, ask yourself, is my tea working as hard as me? Peak's Pure Fermented Teas for the gut of a Brit and the longevity of a Himalayan monk. Get 20% off for life, plus a free frother and glass beaker with the Pure Bundle. Visit peaklife.com/peers. That's peak, P-I-Q-U-E, life.com/peers. But did you actually ever have any kind of sexual relationship at all then?
I'm sorry, what was that?
Did you actually have any kind of sexual relationship with Diddy at all?
No, Diddy and I did not. No, well, not to my knowledge.
So, what do you mean by that?
Not to my knowledge. I don't. Honestly, I'm questioning a lot of things right now.
Well, you think
so not to my knowledge. No, I don't think anything right now. Just not to my knowledge, because honestly.
That's a very strange response, though, to not remember whether you did or not.
Yeah, isn't it? It is. Yeah, it is. Because honestly, Piers, before I went through my text, again, I hadn't read Confessions in 20 years. I wrote it. It was painful to write. So I never wanted to re-traumatize myself and go through those years again. And think about this. I'm a middle-aged woman at this point. I don't want to go back into my 20s and see what happened. But in gathering information for this interview here, reading that passage again for the first time in 20 years, I questioned a lot of things like, well, why was he so afraid? And why did he try to, make my boyfriend feel as if I wasn't trustworthy? And do you
think he took advantage of you when you were under the influence of alcohol and drugs?
I don't know. Honestly, I don't know. And
but do you fear that's the case now from everything you've read?
Honestly, yes. Given the context, now that I know, because again, I never knew any of these things about him before. So the things that I learned in the trial, I did not know. I never saw that side of him. I did not know. I never understood. And again, in 2005, when I published Confessions, it says I didn't understand why he was so fearful of me, because our time together was pleasant. And I was like, wait, what is he so afraid of? What does he not want me to tell? I didn't see anything at that point. At that point, I hadn't seen anything. At that point, we had, I thought, just a friendly, platonic night together. So I was confused then. And 20 years later, I'm confused now. So to my knowledge, I've never had sex with Sean Combs. We never had that kind of relationship.
But you can't be sure.
Given what we know now, I can't be sure.
And how does that make you feel?
And that saddens me.
Yeah, I was going to ask you.
It saddens me, honestly. Yeah, because honestly, During this entire process, I've been shying away from publicity and just letting the trial unfold. I knew things from just being around and people talking, but I didn't know what was going to come out. There's a few things that I saw that without context were strange to me, but I didn't understand them until the trial. And so I've been quiet this whole time, and I disappeared off of social. I just disappeared for the past year waiting for this thing to unfold. In the unfolding of what I believe to be facts, and definitely the testimonies of Cassie and Jane and even some of the men, and then looking back at the text, I'm like, wait a minute. Okay, when he said, if anything got out, and I'm like, and I remember at the time being so confused, like anything like what got out? Like nothing happened. We hung out, you were kind. At some point I went to sleep, I don't know when, but I woke up and then we had breakfast and you were kind and I left. Nothing happened. I don't know, Pierce, I feel, just in the last 24 hours, I question what I thought I knew about my time with him.
You detailed in your books romantic relationships with a lot of famous people from that world: Jay-Z, DMX, Van Diesel, Lil Wayne, Method Man, even Bill Maher, LL Cool J, Mr. Carl, and others. You had a lot of famous guys you dated. And who knows what the nature of what happened with Diddy was about. But do you feel that this whole world has now changed irrevocably as a result of what happened to Diddy?
No, because nothing has happened to Diddy. Nothing has happened to Sean at all. What has happened here is that, here's the deal. It's not a Diddy issue. Like, Diddy is a problem, but he's not the problem, okay? He's not the problem. From Cosby to Combs, Weinstein to Epstein, and everything in between, they're all different tentacles of the same beast. And this is a story as old as time. The abuses of men, men in power especially, men with money. And I think it only increases over time as women become more free and more liberated, being able to make our own money, being able to, buy our own homes, being able to start our own businesses. I think it only enrages the men who hold power that they're losing power. And so I've felt that over time, in my experience over the last 20-something years that I've been in this town, that the men are increasingly more aggressive and more so wanting to keep women under control and in power because they are losing power, even legally so. I don't think that the Diddy trial has changed anything other than it probably fuels this issue more than anything, because here's the deal. Two of the toughest charges have been dropped. He's facing up to 20 with time served. Yeah, he's denied bail, but how much time is he really going to get? Probably maybe 3 years, might be out on probation, might have to wear an ankle bracelet like Martha Stewart, and everything's going to be fine. And then what happens is that no one's paying attention to the fact that there are a lot of men who aren't saying anything, who are very quiet, as well as men especially, and women, who are supporting him. And I fear, even with everything that we've heard, let's say none of that was true. We saw something, however, that tells us something about this person. We saw a videotape of him brutalizing Cassie, and that tells me everything I need to know about this person's character. So even if nothing else was true, that alone is enough reason for him to be canceled indefinitely. But I fear that's not what's going to happen. I think this is just emboldening more men to do the same thing, because guess what they're going to do? They're going to get away with it. There are men in this industry who have left this country, who are now living on islands and in different countries, to escape persecution from things like this. There are men that I know personally who are involved in this, who have done things similar to this, who have parties like this. Diddy's not the only one. This is not a Sean Combs problem. This is a societal community issue here in this town. And it's not just the artists, it's also their attorneys, their publicists, it's the hotels. I was brutalized in a hotel, and guess what happened? That tape disappeared. When I went to get my police report from the police station, it was destroyed, all within 48 hours, to protect the person who had brutalized me. It is pandemic. So it doesn't matter, you know, if Diddy gets off or not, in the sense that it won't stop anything. I think if anything, it makes it all worse.